Welcome back to another episode of Ask the Attorney. I'm your host, Alex Alexander with Client Focused Media. Today, I'm really excited to bring Matt Turner with Sommers Schwartz. Your future, our fight. They can be found on the web at summerspc.com. Welcome, Matt. How are you today?
I'm great, Alex. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm incredible. Thank you for asking, sir, and I appreciate you being on our show today. So, you and I were talking a little bit beforehand, and found out that you have I guess litigation in your blood. Talk to me a little bit about how you grew up and what brought you into the field of law.
Well, that's an interesting question, Alex. Thank you. We did talk about this briefly, but I grew up in a family of trial lawyers. My dad was a trial lawyer. My uncle was a trial lawyer. They were partners. They practiced law together. So my childhood was sitting around the table talking to my dad about his cases and the fights he had and what was happening and not happening. And I can remember back even when I was in high school, being the kid who was carrying my dad's briefcases to trial and sitting in the back of a courtroom and listening to trials. And it was fascinating to me. And so that's how I got interested in the law. And, and I was also an athlete growing up. I played a number of sports in high school. I loved to compete. And to me, being a trial lawyer is in a lot of ways like being a competitive athlete. It's not a physical competition, but it's a competition with your brain and with your wits and your ability to put together an argument. And at the end of a trial, like the end of a football game or a hockey game, somebody wins and somebody loses. And while, of course, the facts of your case are the most important thing in determining who wins or who loses, a lot of it is the skill of the lawyer that's handling the case and how they put that case together. And I just always found that process fascinating, and I still find that process fascinating. And I enjoy doing that for my clients and trying to give them the best opportunity to be successful so they can try it people come to me because they had something bad happen to them. No one comes to me because something good happened to them. And it's my job to try and fix it. It's true, right? Something bad happened. Something bad happened to every one of my clients, and they want to do whatever they can to try and make that bad thing that happened to them not as bad as it is. And my ability to help them do that gives me great pleasure.
So obviously, like you said, you're being a person that is driven, right? Because anybody that's in sports is obviously driven. And you've taken that same philosophy when you go into the courtroom. That makes sense because you're going to use everything within your power, all the tools at your convenience to be able to make what you're trying to do win, right? And that's what you really want. You want a winner on your side. Everybody wants to be a winner, but unfortunately, not everyone is. So to know somebody who already has that kind of built in, I think that's almost in your DNA at that point. I know if I were in Michigan, I would want to reach out and say, hey, I want this guy to represent me, right? Because that's what you want. I want to know somebody that's a winner. And I feel that's kind of what you're putting off here. So real quick, let's talk about, Sommers Schwartz, right? This is the firm that you work with. What are the things that you handle primarily there?
So the cases that I handle are primarily, I would say about maybe 60% of my practice is medical malpractice cases, representing people who have been injured by doctors or hospitals who made mistakes that shouldn't have been made. Probably 20 to 25% of my practice is Fair Labor Standards Act, wage and hour litigation, class and collective action litigation against big companies who don't pay their employees all of the money that they should be paid for overtime that they work. It could be people who are misclassified. The company calls them independent contractors because they don't want to have to pay overtime, so they don't pay any overtime. Or they don't count all of the time that they worked, so they don't pay for all the time that they work. It might be something like people who have to work in a factory and wear a bunch of personal protective equipment, and it takes them minutes to put on and take off all of that personal protective equipment that they have to wear to do their job. And the company doesn't pay them for that. And that's compensable time that they're supposed to be paid for.
Correct.
And then the rest of my practice is pretty much any other type of litigation where someone has been damaged. Pretty much everything I do is on a contingent fee. So I handle a fair amount of legal malpractice cases against lawyers, and then general personal injury cases, auto accident cases, product liability, premises liability, any type of case where someone's been injured and they and they're entitled to be compensated for what's happened to them.
I noticed, because I've been to the website there being the SommersPC.com, that you guys represent people in more than just Michigan. Is this, are you personally licensed within Michigan as well as others? Have you been admitted in other states personally?
So I'm licensed to practice in the state of Michigan. I am also admitted to many different federal courts around the country that you can get admitted without being a member of that state bar. I've been admitted pro hoc vice, which means admitted for that particular case in a number of different states and jurisdictions. So my wage and hour practice, my FLSA practice, is all over the country. I've handled malpractice cases in different states. I've tried malpractice cases in different states. Other lawyers here do that as well. We have a fairly large firm. We have about 30 lawyers here. And so we do have, in some respects, a national practice.
Well, excellent. Well, I want to thank you very much for being on the show today. I want to thank everyone out there for tuning into this episode of Ask the Attorney. So I want everyone out there that if you're in the state of Michigan and your medical malpractice, that kind of thing, if you have questions, I want you to go to, first of all, the SommersPC.com. And you can also find more information about Matt Turner here at IWantToBuzz.com. Do something good for yourself and do something good for others.